Hey friends, I am Dr. B.V. Rao of Usha Clinic and founder of the websites qmedicaldoubts.blogspot.in and Dr. Raghava medicaldoubts.in. Through these videos, I am providing the basic knowledge about the commonly occurring diseases, treatment and surgery details whenever necessary for the medical knowledge to general people and for reference to medicos. Today I am going to discuss about the myocard, my, about the myocarditis and pericarditis. Myocardium is the musculature of the heart. It is involved in different infections, but terms myocarditis and cardiomyopathy are commonest among them. They are not related to the rheumatic fever, coronary artery disease or hypertension. Acute myocarditis. Acute myocarditis usually occurs as a complication of different infections like toxic effects of diphtheria, pneumonia, typhoid, scrub typhus and meningitis. It may also occur in protozoal infections like Chagas disease, that is American trypanosomiasis, and also viral diseases like influenza, poliomyelitis, infectious mononucleosis and Coxsackie. Clinical features. Sinus tachycardia is the only feature which is out of proportion to the severity of the infection. The severe cases there is gallop rhythm, arrhythmias and conduction defects and accurate circulatory failure. Prognosis in most types of myocarditis is good, but diphtheриal infection death may be caused. In Chagas disease, the patient usually recovers, but after a latent period of 10 to 20 years, chronic myopathy develops and it is usually fatal. Treatment. Prolonged rest may be sometimes necessary. There is no specific treatment for the disease. Only treatment for cardiac failure and arrhythmias may be given for symptom relief. Chronic cardiomyopathy. In many cases, the disease is a part of the generalized disorder and the cardiac involvement of some degree. The disorders include sarcoidosis, hemochromatosis, amyloidosis, muscular dystrophies, and connective tissue disorders, systemic lupus erythematosus, scleroderma, and polyneuritis. It also may be associated with alcoholism, late stages of pregnancy, and purpurium, also called purpurium cardiomyopathy. Sometimes there is family history. Endocardial fibroelastosis is a disorder of infants. Here a thick fibrous layer is superimposed on the endocardium of the left ventricle and frequently involves myocardium and mitral valve. There also may be congenital cardiac lesion and runs as progressive heart failure. Clinical features. The cardiomyopathy is usually present in either of the clinical patterns: congestive with cardiomegaly and valvular regurgitation, and progressive left and then right-sided cardiac failure. Hypertrophic. It is usually associated with severe thickening of the interventricular septum, then obstructs the outflow from the left ventricle, occurs and produces a clinical picture of aortic stenosis, also called idiopathic hypertrophic subaortic stenosis. Family history is common. Two more rare types are also there. restrictive type simulating a constrictive type, and lastly obliterative type, as in endomyocardial fibrosis. Fibrotic tissue and thrombus obliterates the cavities of the left ventricle and right ventricle and may lead to mitral and tricuspid regurgitation. Nutritional and infective factors may contribute to this condition. Treatment. A well-balanced diet is advised when there is a nutritional deficiency. Advised to avoid alcohol completely. Corticosteroid therapy is sometimes of value for treatment of cardiomyopathy due to sarcoidosis or associated with a connective tissue disorder. Cardiac failure must be treated in a regular way. Surgery. Surgical resection of the hypertrophied septum is beneficial in hypertrophic obstructive type. Diseases of pericardium. Pericarditis itself is not a disease, as it is associated with many diseases. Certain symptoms and signs may occur whatever the etiology and merit independent description. Chronic constrictive pericarditis is discussed separately. Acute pericarditis. The disease is seen in combination with the rheumatic fever, viral infection, tuberculosis, acute myocardial infection, OC myocardial infarction syndrome, pyogenic infection, etc. Acute pericarditis may be fibrinous, serous, hemorrhagic or purulent. Fibrinous pericarditis. There is fibrinous exudate on the surface which lead to varying degrees of adhesions, formations, and hence obliteration of the pericardial cavity. Serous pericarditis. A serous exudate of 2 ml to 2 liters may be present in addition. The effusion is straw colored and turbid with a high protein content. Hemorrhagic effusion. It suggests a malignant origin. Purulent pericarditis. It is due to pyogenic infection and minimal effusion is present. Clinical features. Pain. Sharp and aching pain may or may not be present and become worse by movements. Inspiration and lying flat. In case of viral pericarditis, in other cases like pericarditis secondary to uremia, myocardial infarction or malignant disease, it is severe. A sensation of peripheral oppression may be produced by a large pericardial effusion. Friction. The diagnostic sign is the pericardial friction, containing superficial scratching sound at the left of the sternum, synchronous with heart's action, and is aggravated by inspiration as adjacent pleural surface is involved. Effusion. Cardiac dullness increased towards the left of sternum. Heart sounds are muffled. Cardiac tamponade. Fast increasing of the disease interferes with the diastolic filling of the heart. As a result, the stroke output of the heart is diminished. Tachycardia occurs. The blood pressure falls. Venous pressure is increased. Pulsus paradoxus occurs and shock may develop. Radiology. With the large effusion, obliteration of the normal contours of the heart, widening of the base and diminished pulsations of borders may be seen. Serial films may show significant changes of size over a short period of time. ECG. Electrocardiography shows a diagnostic pattern in the ST segment and the T wave. Treatment. Paracentesis. Paracentesis of pericardial effusion is rarely required unless for a massive effusion, but may be necessary for diagnostic purpose. It should be done only when there is compulsion. The needle is best inserted into the pericardial sac in the subcostal angle through the costoxiphoid notch and directed upwards and backwards and to the left. Surgical drainage necessary if pus is present. Symptomatic treatment is necessary accordingly. Chronic constrictive pericarditis. A slow progressive fibrosis of the pericardium develops as a result of a previous infection and constricts the movement of heart so that it can't expand completely during diastole. The fibrous tissue is thick, dense and inelastic. Calcification is common sequelae. The inflow of blood to the heart is impeded so that the cardiac output is diminished and the systemic venous pressure increased with the resultant peripheral congestion. Otherwise, the heart is normal. Secondary atrophy of the muscle fibers may occur. Diagnosis of the condition is important as it is amenable to surgical treatment. Most of the cases may be due to tuberculosis, some to pyogenic infection, and in other cases it is obscure. Clinical features. The symptoms depend upon the degree of constriction. Breathlessness. Breathlessness is not a prominent symptom and is rarely present at rest because the lungs are not congested. Jugular pressure. Raised jugular venous pressure is a notable feature. Liver. Enlargement of liver and ascites occurs relatively early compared to the peripheral edema. Pleural effusion. Pleural effusions are common in tuberculosis cases. Apex of heart. Apical impulses are difficult to feel and triple rhythm may be heard from by addition of the second sound in early diastole. Pulse. The pulse is rapid and of small volume and there may be pulsus paradoxus. An important feature is the absence of much enlargement of the heart. This is the difference from all forms of the cardiac failure. Atrial fibrillation occurs in some cases. X-ray. Screening may show a small quiet heart with diminished pulsations. There could be apparent enlargement because the pericardium is so thick, pleural effusion may obscure the cardiac outline. Calcification of the pericardium is frequently seen in lateral or oblique views. Treatment. Medical treatment is useful only for symptomatic relief. The problem is a mechanical one, so surgical resection of as much as possible of the pericardium is indicated. The surgery may produce a dramatic relief and a considerable improvement, but it may take several months for maximum benefit to be obtained. That's all about the cardiomyopathy and pericarditis. In the next video, I will discuss about some other disease. Thank you.